Introduction. Supervisors have long been the backbone of most organizations. Their leadership is often the difference between getting work accomplished and not meeting schedules. They are the buffers between upper management and the frontline employees, serving in effect as human barometers for both groups. The traditional supervisor. Traditionally, supervisors were engaged in hands-on management, constantly monitoring employees to detect performance glitches and immediately applying corrective action whenever needed. When an employee went out on a short break from work, it was common for the supervisor to fill in until the employee's return. The supervisor's primary focus was not so much on leading others as it was getting the work completed on time, even if that required the supervisor to contribute directly to getting the results needed. Such hands-on management is not bad, but making a hands-on effort the top supervisory priority leads to problems. All too often, the supervisor who is participating directly in the actual completion of a job loses his or her perspective on what is happening in the rest of the department. While the supervisor is physically working on one task, other areas of the department suffer. Hands-on management may eventually make supervisors feel they are being driven crazy as they run from crisis to crisis, putting out fires. Supervisors working in this traditional hands-on mode are some of the hardest working people in any organization, yet they often fail to understand the big picture. They are very capable workers technically, but they stifle the growth of their people because they are unable to let go and lead. It is though they feel that unless they complete a job personally, either the job is not acceptable or they are not working hard enough. Unfortunately, many organizations have conditioned supervisors to feel guilty unless they work longer hours than their employees or are personally involved with getting the work completed. In the past, individuals often became supervisors because they had superior performance records as frontline employees or possessed a wealth of technical expertise. Whether they were claims clearers in an insurance company, nurses in a maternity ward, or machine operators in a factory, their reward for good performance was to become the leader over the employees with whom they had worked side by side. Unfortunately, these same individuals were promoted to their new supervisor positions without ever receiving formal guidance or education about leadership. This left most of them to devise their own methods to get work accomplished. Faced with this situation, many supervisors directed their people the same way they had been directed, paying little attention to the difference that exists between workers. Such efforts caused short-term anxiety for the supervisors and long-term performance results that fell short of company expectations. The origins of the 21st century supervisor. During much of the 1980s and 1990s, many organizations began to experience major changes. Perhaps the greatest change was the almost non-stop reduction in employees. Company mergers and buyouts became commonplace, and in the resulting reorganizations, many managers and frontline employees lost their jobs. Some supervisors lost their jobs too, but many kept their jobs, with one minor adjustment. As more and more managers experienced RAFs, reductions in force, more and more responsibility was placed on the shoulders of the supervisors. It was at this point that many organizations began to realize their supervisors, their frontline leaders, were not prepared for the tasks they were inheriting. These supervisors now needed to be more than just technical experts at operating machinery or equipment. We believe that supervision in the 21st century will need greater expertise and experience in decision-making, financial analysis, writing letters and memos, and leading people. Nothing that supervisors learned in the past will be wasted. However, many of the organizations that supervisors work for will need every supervisor to be better informed, equipped to make successful business decisions, and able to develop people on the front lines of the workplace. As the corporate mindset continues to favor a leaner workforce, some organizations are finding a shortage of competent and confident leaders on the front lines. Supervisors who are motivated to excel in the 21st century will discover an abundance of opportunities to learn, contribute, and excel. This book is about change, personal and professional change. Making personal change requires supervisors to realize first that knowing the basics of supervision is not enough. Leading in the 21st century will push supervisors to move beyond the basics, to recognize that the nature of both the work and the worker is different from what it has been in the years past. All frontline leaders, whether called supervisors, department manager, team leader, foreman, head nurse, assistant director, or some other name, will face making professional changes in how they approach their jobs. The drivers for these personal and professional changes are diverse: skyrocketing growth of communication via the internet, greater diversity of workers, less loyalty to a single company among workers, higher expectations and more purchasing options among consumers, growing demand for speed in delivering completed work, growing demand for quality first and foremost, even before speed, greater use of frontline employees in team-based strategies, more stringent regulations on requirements from the government, escalating competition between organizations in the same industry, greater influx of foreign companies taking up corporate residence in the United States, increasing advances in computer technology. Gone are the days in which supervisors were responsible primarily for taking attendance, passing out checks, and serving as the chief watchdog of employees. There is now and will continue to be a demand for supervisors who can rise to the growing challenge facing every organization in the 21st century. The skills needed to become a leader. This book is ultimately about leadership, raw leadership. Supervisors must be first and foremost leaders. They must possess the skills to move people in a positive direction, even when the path is uncomfortable or unknown. If you are a supervisor, you will find several skills presented in this book that need to be embraced and incorporated into your leadership efforts. These skills are non-negotiable. That is, they are the components of leadership that must be exercised at the front lines. Practicing the skills presented in this book will greatly enhance your future success. Not to embrace these skills is to risk less than satisfactory results and even loss of employment. The 21st century supervisor will continue to be the main conduit between senior management and frontline workers. He or she will, however, be more involved than ever before with major divisions and be responsible for creating and managing yearly budgets, ensuring quality and continuous improvement, and integrating a greater diversity of workers into real teamwork. If you are a manager who has frontline leaders as direct reports, this book offers you insights into your supervisor's needs for the 21st century. It provides you with a roadmap, complete with a 3-year career development plan for your organization to use to raise the skills of your frontline leaders beyond the basics. As a greater emphasis continues to be placed on nurturing teamwork within the organization, it is increasingly important for supervisors to be equipped with the appropriate skills to facilitate teamwork. The 21st century supervisor must have greater knowledge about a wider variety of issues than past supervisors did. Future supervisors will be more manager-like in their focus and responsibilities. The skills needed to become a leader. There is little doubt that organizations will require frontline supervisors to play a more integral part in leadership. To prepare for this role, supervisors will need education, assistance, and support from those in senior positions. This book identifies the needed skills for the frontline leaders and the practical application of each skill. It can train the supervisor in the needed skills for 21st century supervision. We surveyed more than 500 organizations to identify the job skills we examine here. Each organization's respondent was asked to select the job skill the organization believed its supervisors would need to be successful in the future. A list of job skills was provided on the survey, and respondents could write in additional job skills they thought important. Here are the 9 skills that received the greatest number of responses on the survey and the percentage of respondents who selected each set of skills. More than 83% of the survey respondents identified communication skills, making the ability to communicate the most important skill set for a supervisor to possess and practice. 83% communication skills, 81% coaching skills, 80% team skills, 78% project management skills, 75% computer skills, 73% continuous improvement skills, 71% writing skills, 68% business analysis skills, 66% resource management skills. This book is a wake-up call to supervisors and their senior leaders regarding the skills that supervisors should develop. The 9 skills our survey identified are the ones we have made the focus of this book, and we have devoted a full chapter to each one, chapters 2 through 10. We have divided them into 3 categories: people skills, technical skills, and administrative skills. Each section will identify how supervisors can improve these specific skills. Techniques and practical instructions for each are provided, along with examples from real supervisors across the United States. As you read The 21st Century Supervisor, look for opportunities to implement its objectives and practical insights. Chapter 11 profiles 4 supervisors who represent 4 different approaches to becoming a 21st century supervisor. All 4 obtained success in their frontline leadership, even though each one took a different road. You too will travel your own road. You will find the 9 skills divided in this book necessary to effectively lead people and processes in the 21st century. The 21st Century Supervisors is for men and women who take pride in their profession, their performance, and their reputation. Embrace the skills identified in this book and commit to improving them for your professional career. You will not only enhance your career, opening doors to new and greater opportunities, but you will contribute to raising the level of excellence experienced by your organization. Finally, reading this book should challenge you to not only embrace each skill, but to develop your employees to embrace these skills too. Turn the page and begin the most important professional improvement journey of your leadership career.